The problem with you is you're whining like a little fucking baby.
What's going on, fam? It's your boy, Papa Swolio, back with another episode of Ask Papa Swolio. Remember, if you want your question featured right here on the show, drop in the comments down below with the hashtag AskPapaSwolio, and I will get to them as soon as I can. Remember to subscribe to the Daily Swole podcast. It's available everywhere. I'll put the links in the description down below. And also, you can catch the live stream every single day over on my second channel, Daily Swole Podcast. Why would you not want to listen to the podcast? It's everywhere. It's all of this stuff we talk about every episode, and it's available every day. Subscribe. Question from Noah Herman. Papa Swolio, do you have 3 meals a day, or do you just eat whenever you are hungry and don't care if you get the recommended 3 meals in? Thanks for the good and consistent content. It helps me stay consistent as well. You're very welcome, Noah. Thank you so much for the question. I generally do not have 3 meals a day. I generally like to eat my meals later on in the day. I don't necessarily do intermittent fasting, but a lot of times I will backload my nutrition where I'll have 1 or 2 meals later on the day in the afternoon. It really depends on when I work out. If I train first thing in the morning, a lot of times I'll eat earlier in the day. If I train in the afternoon, I'll eat right after. Sometimes I don't train till later on the evening, and I tend to just kind of drink coffee and coast and do work and do the podcast and then train in the evening. So I usually like to start my real consumption of food after my workout, and that kind of goes depending on when I get my training in. Sometimes I'll have a sweet potato. Usually I'll have a sweet potato before I go to the gym. So if I train in the afternoon, I'm kind of eating a little bit, if you call a sweet potato a meal, but that's just how I work. That's how I roll. You don't need 3 meals. There's no such thing as recommended 3 meals. No one does that shit anymore. You could do 1 meal a day. You could do 2 meals a day. It depends on what your goals are and if what you're eating at those meals are reflected in where you're trying to go with your training. If you're trying to put on a lot of mass and you're trying to bulk up and eat a lot of food, it's probably not the best idea to eat 1 or 2 meals because it's going to be very hard to eat the required amount of calories for growth at 1 or 2 meals. It depends on if you're trying to maintain or, what types of food you're eating at those meals. So it depends on a lot of other factors, but you're not required to eat 3 meals a day, and I usually don't myself. Question from John Lorenz Magat. Papa Swolio, I am a 30-year-old surgical resident doctor in training. Congratulations. And we do 80 to 100 hours per week. Aside from 24 hours continuous duty and operations, we also have ER calls. I work out every 3 days, full body with machines. I do this after a 24-hour shift. Is this enough to stimulate muscle growth? The things that are most important for muscle growth are the progressive overload, nutrition, and sleep and rest. And it seems like you're not getting a lot of sleep, but if you're training 3 days, full body, I would recommend you get off the machines, you do more free weights, you add in more yoga, and you make sure you're on point with as much sleep as you can get and your nutrition. So 3 days a week is definitely enough to stimulate muscle growth, but it depends on what you're doing those 3 days a week. If you're doing full body with machines, right off the bat there, it sounds like there's a lot to be desired with the training itself. If you train hard with free weights, full body 3 times a week, you can definitely stimulate enough muscle growth. And then once you get out of your current situation and you're officially a doctor and things are more stable, you can get back on a more regular training routine. But I would add in some meditation, I would add in yoga, and I would definitely get off the machines and start doing some more free weights. Question from Panda Sykes. Papa Swolio, pre-workout supplements. I currently just chug Monster, but I want to get something more natural. Do you take any pre-workout subs? If so, which ones? And what's your thought on citrulline malate, if any? Citrulline malate is one of those supplements, I believe it's supposed to improve vasodilation. They did some studies with like 6 or 8 grams with elite cyclists. I don't know what the latest studies are, but this is probably a few years ago at least, and it showed some potential benefits. So I don't think that kind of stuff is going to harm you, but I would recommend just getting the raw supplements. Get a little micro scale, get the raw supplements, measure it out. That way at least you know what you're taking, and you're taking an amount that is more likely to show you an effect. A lot of times a company will take a study, let's say like citrulline malate, let's say the study shows they used 8 grams a day, for example. But that company will use that study and say, hey, this will help you get better pumps, but they'll only put 1 to 2 grams in their product. So although citrulline malate may help you get a better pump, it was done in a study that they took 8 grams. So why are they giving you only 1 or 2? That's one of the problems with the fitness industry. They can use and reference a study and say that it does A, B, and C, but they're not giving you the proper amount that would actually show that. They're not giving you the amount that the study actually used. So I would recommend getting the raw supplements if you're going to go down that route and weigh it out yourself, measure it out yourself. Just be careful. Don't mistake the same same scooper for the caffeine they do for the citrulline malate, you'll fucking die if you take thousands of milligrams of caffeine, so don't fucking do that, be careful. But it just tastes like shit because you're not getting all the fillers, but that's a good thing too. If you're gonna take the actual ingredient, take the actual ingredient, make it yourself. Don't be lazy. Don't just buy all this artificial sweeteners and artificial flavorings, all the sucralose and aspartame and whatever the fuck else they put in these other supplements. Most of them are just caffeine based, and they add in these ingredients and they overcharge you for this raspberry flavored lightning taint tickling lemonade or whatever the fuck it is. They have more natural supplements out there. You can go to your local store. I don't know what you have available. I'm not even sure what's available on Amazon, but if you're looking for anything more natural, try to get something without a lot of flavorings. Maybe it uses beet juice or something, a little bit of a more natural substance, not like a lot of yellow 5 and food colorings and things like that. So it's up to you how sensitive you are to caffeine. If you want to go through the process of making yourself, when I used to take a lot of pre-workouts, I would be mixing it myself and I liked it. It tasted like shit, but it saved me money and I actually knew what I was putting in my body. Anthony Otadoy. Papa Swolio, I have been training for a year now and have been making noticeable gains. However, I recently finished cutting and my body fat is considerably low, yet I have minimal abs visibility, despite training hard and consistent. What do you recommend? These vague questions. This is very, very tough, but I'm going to answer it because it might reflect an answer for a lot of you out there that are also thinking in vague terms. You've been training for a year now. Okay, not that long. I know you've made noticeable gains, newbie gains. A year is not that long. It's not. A year. I've been training for about 20 years. A year is not that long. So keep that in mind. I finished cutting, so I have no context of what you're talking about with cutting. Your body fat is considerably low. Again, super vague. I don't know your height, your body weight, what you were doing, what cutting you're doing. I don't see pictures, so I can't really even answer this. Yet I have minimal abs visibility because you don't have low enough body fat. It doesn't matter if you're training your abs. Training your abs and doing a lot of crunches or planks, this, that, and the other is not gonna bring your abs out more. You still have fat on top of them. So that's what you need to be paying attention to. It's probably just you haven't locked down your nutrition enough. Maybe you need to keep focusing on building muscle. Maybe if you train for a year now and you made gains and you just finished cutting, I will tell you one thing. How come you've been training for a year and you've already done a bulk and a cut? When I was training, when I started to put on mass, I didn't even consider cutting. I fucking bulked for years. I don't even remember the time frame. It was just about getting big. It was eating and training like a fucking beast. I didn't even know what the phrase cutting was. So for any of you watching, if you want to put on some mass and you're just starting, you don't bulk for a couple months and then cut for a couple months. You're gonna lose all the fucking hard work you just put in. Bulk, put on size, like gain. Get in the mindset of gaining, especially if you're younger. If you're a dude, I mean, ladies, this applies too, but I only have the perspective personally from where I was and I'm a dude. Just build, gain, lift, fucking eat, but lift, heavy, basic exercise, put on mass. Do it for years. Like, pack on. You don't always have to be, you don't have to be dirty bulking, but get in that gaining state of mind and don't leave it for a while if you really want to build some solid muscle. Question from Lori Martinez. Papa Swolio, what does eating low carb really do? Will it tear down muscle in the beginning or at any point? No, that's not how it works. One of the things that people find when they go keto or they go low carb all of a sudden is they lose weight right away. And that's because the water molecules actually bind to glucose, I believe. When you're flushing out carbohydrates, when you cut carbohydrates, you'll lose a lot of water. So without as many carbohydrates present, you're gonna flush out water right away. That's why when people go keto off the bat, and I apologize if I'm wrong about that, but I believe there's some kind of like binding to the glucose molecules and so forth, but you'll lose water weight. And when people go keto, from the start, they're like, wow, I lost 10 pounds in a week, or I lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks. You know, any fitness pro that actually knows what they're talking about, like, all right, you just lost water, maybe lost a pound of fat, maybe. But you flushed out a lot of extra water because you're not eating breads and pastas and processed sugars and all these things that you shouldn't be eating anyway. You're getting rid of a lot of extra crap on your body, mostly water weight. It's not going to tear down muscle, but having a low carb diet is probably not optimal for building muscle long term. It's not like a muscle building diet, but if you're looking to lose body fat, I personally do a lower, more moderate carb with higher fat in my diet. I don't do keto. I didn't like keto for strength training. I didn't like how it made me feel. It's not for me. But if you have massive weight loss to lose, if you're extremely obese, keto could be a very good option. Some people like it all the time. I personally wasn't a huge fan of maintaining that long term, and I don't really think it's necessarily a really good thing for long term, but I think doing bouts of ketosis and doing that for maybe a few months at a time could be very beneficial. But I personally do like a lower carb-ish diet. I usually just mostly have sweet potatoes and white rice around when I work out, and fruit, and aside from that, it's vegetables, fibers, carbohydrates, grass-fed beef, animal protein, stuff like that. Brittany Johnson, Papa Swolio, I practice intermittent fasting. The only time I have for workouts is early in the morning and late in the evening. My fasting window is usually between 7 p.m. until 11 a.m. When would you recommend I fit my workout in? It's so funny. I think intermittent fasting and talking about it is so funny because when you say my fasting window is between 7 p.m. until 11 a.m., it's just you're going to sleep and you're waking up in the morning and you're eating a late breakfast. I don't know. It kind of makes me laugh. But if you're not eating between 7 p.m. and 11 a.m., I would recommend you work out in the morning and then you eat at 11 a.m. because then you're fueling after your workout. I think that'd be a great time. So that's my opinion. Question from Raman Jamali. Papa Swolio, I am fasting 14 hours every day for a month for religious obligations, but I'm rapidly losing muscle mass and keeping on fat. Would I be better off focusing on strength style training such as 5x5 or hypertrophy 8 to 12 reps to preserve muscle mass? Well, you're fasting 14 hours a day. Some people do that all the time if they're doing an 18-6 or a 16-8. People do this every single day with intermittent fasting and have no problem maintaining or building muscle mass. So if you are losing muscle mass, it's because you're either not training as hard or you're not eating as much. So just because you're fasting for 14 hours, there should be no difference in your muscle mass. It might just be how you're feeling because you're used to eating during the day. Just eat more calories during when you can eat. If you're fasting 14 hours, that means you have 10 hours to consume enough calories to maintain the muscle mass. I don't think it has anything to do with your training. I think you're overthinking it and not turning the lens on yourself and realizing, oh, I'm fucking up. I'm just not eating enough. So I would say eat more, eat better, or train harder. I don't think it has anything to do with your religious obligation. I think it's just your schedule changed and you're not executing the way you were when you could do whatever you want. So I would say focus on your nutrition, and if you want to preserve muscle mass, stick to hypertrophy reps. If you want to build, that's what builds muscle better than strength. Doing training with more volume and a moderate rep range will keep more muscle mass on you because it'll build more muscle mass, in my opinion. You could do that, or you can drop down, do some 5x5. But it sounds like if you're losing muscle mass, you're not training hard enough and you're not eating the same way you were as before your religious obligation. So step it up. Well, thank you so much for your questions. Remember, if you want your question featured right here on the show, just drop your question in the comments down below with the hashtag AskPapaSwolio, and I will get to them as soon as I can. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the Daily Swole podcast. I'll put all the links in the description down below. You can listen to it everywhere, whether you have an iPhone, an Android, any podcast app, you can download the Daily Swole podcast and make sure to subscribe. Also, you can catch the live stream on my second channel right here on YouTube, Daily Swole Podcast, every single day. It's like Ask Papa Swolio, but it's in your ear holes. Why would you not want to subscribe? So I'll see you on the podcast, and I'll see you next time for the next episode of APS. Peace out.
Click the link, motherfucker! Click the link! Click the link! Watch another video, like and subscribe. I know you want to. You know you want to. Come on, everyone knows you want to. You love Papa Swolio. You love the man bun. You love the sick bugging gains. You love it. Oh, oh, oh. You love it. Oh, 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 oh.